Hi friends! And welcome to Wives vs. World, where we have fun talking about queer stuff and life as a trans, cis, lesbian couple. I'm Jackie.
I'm Anya.
And today we will take you on a trip to a land of mystery and a story most interesting. Anya wrote a book and she just finished that book.
I just want to mention because in the last video a lot of you pointed out that I didn't comment on my hair. You can see it now, but I cut off my hair. And I didn't because I didn't think it was a very big deal, and honestly I didn't think the change was that significant, so I thought maybe no one would notice. And also I've had it for a few weeks now, so I don't know, it's normal to me already. Yeah, but thank you so much for the kind comments on my hair. You were very, very sweet.
Very perceptive also.
Very perceptive.
Well done.
Well done.
All right, so to do your book justice, we are gonna just insert a quick recap about what the setting is gonna be, what characters you can meet, the sort of conflict, and we'll get right back to you. Cut to the interesting stuff. Peace is a dangerous business. Demetrius has learned that lesson well, and he has a lot to prove as the first elected emperor of Marmaras. But even with the power of the throne, brokering a treaty with the enemy nation Dasusta is no easy task. As his council undermines his efforts at every turn and negotiations are hanging by a thread, his focus is stolen by the captivating but mysterious man, Sinan. Sinan is alluring, fun and easy. Everything Demetrius' life isn't. After an attempt on his life, Demetrius must find the perpetrators to save himself and his country. With only days left before signing the treaty, the fate of the empire and the fragile truce with Dasusta are slowly falling apart. In the midst of political chaos and fighting for his life, Demetrius is forced to rely on the help of his new mischievous lover to keep the crown. Dragged into a world of half-truths and beautiful lies, Demetrius must decide who to trust, as his council, Sinan, and even his own heart seem to be playing tricks on him. Okay, let me just say I am very, very excited about this book. I've of course read it so many times.
Yeah, you have.
I've read it aloud, so I have intimate knowledge about this tome of adventures. I don't know anyone else who has written a fiction book, and a queer one at that. So why was that so important to you? Why did you want to write a book?
I always kind of dreamt of being an author because that lifestyle really intrigued me.
Oh.
But when I was a kid, I thought that I could never write anything that would be interesting enough for anyone to want to read. Because I knew I wouldn't write the next Lord of the Rings or the next Harry Potter or things like that. So then what's the point, you know? But I did love writing as a kid. I did that a lot, and it was kind of a dream of mine to write books. But growing up, I didn't actually read that much because it was hard for me to get invested in books that I never really related to the characters and stuff like that. But then when I was 25, I finally read a book series that really changed that for me because it had queer characters, but the story wasn't about being queer. It wasn't like the struggle wasn't that the characters were queer and had to navigate that. Previous to that, all the books I'd read that had queer characters, it was like that was the point. Like, oh no, I'm queer, I have to come out to my family, and it's okay to be who you are and all that. And of course, those stories are great. I think they're very important, but they never really resonated that much with me. But then I read this series. It was the Captive Prince series by C.S. Pacat, and I really fell in love with the characters, and I really fell in love with the whole point that it's a fantasy book without magic, which I love, and it was about characters who struggled with a whole lot of things like political intrigue and war and history and dangerous passion and stuff like that. But it wasn't about being queer. And that just really spoke to me because that was kind of the stories I always was most interested in. When I read that, I was like, oh, that's an option? You can do that? then I absolutely know what to write. Because before that, I just thought like, no one's gonna read a book with queer characters falling in love and having lots of sex.
But then again, I feel like it gives you maybe not a representation per se, but like more a
escapism.
Yeah, exactly. Like, hey, here's a world where the thing about you that you fear would single you out.
That's just
Anything.
what it is. And then all the struggles are around a lot of other things. I like that, and I think some people find it unrealistic or whatever, but like a lot of things are unrealistic in fantasy, and I just, like, to me it isn't, can't you imagine a world without homophobia? Or I don't know. Like, you know, to me that's just, it just makes sense. I don't know what to say. And I like queer characters being able to be the heroes of their own stories and just have a good, exciting, miserable time without it being about them being queer. So that's why it was so important to me to write this kind of story.
So how did you come up with that story in particular? Like, were you just eating like shawarma one day and then you're just like, I'm gonna submit someone to torture in this particular way? Or how did you come up with it?
There's no torture in the books, just saying.
That's Captive Prince.
Yeah. I knew I wanted to be some kind of like historical fantasy, like fantasy in a past age that didn't include magic or a lot of magic, but I wasn't quite sure what setting to put it in, and I had a lot of different ideas for that because I just love stories that take place in kind of alternate universes or stuff like that. I was in Rome in 2017 where we had this guided tour of the Forum Romanum. What do they call it?
I think that's what you call it.
Okay. And I've for a long time been fascinated with like ancient Greece and ancient Rome, because when we were taught about in school, there was something so inherently queer about so many of those stories. And I know that's not the intention and stuff like that, but those stories resonated with me for some reason. We had this guided tour and we stood in front of one of the big arches.
Yeah.
And this tour guide told us about, and then this emperor and this and this happened, and then 2 years later a new one came, and 4 years later that one was betrayed, and 6 years later they all died and stuff like that. She just said it so easily and so quickly and casually, and so we're like, wow, that's a lot. That's a story right there. And to think about like how times have changed, have shifted in history. Super intense, wild events have happened. And that happened to real people. That happened to actual people sometime in history. And now we can say it in one sentence, whatever. But back in the day, someone lived those experiences, you know? I could just imagine this young emperor who lived through like absolute chaos. So that was the seed that started to germinate. So I always wanted that combination of a spicy romance what?
And it is spicy.
Not that spicy, actually.
There is explicit sex scenes.
Yeah. I think if people come looking for spice, they will be disappointed.
Yeah, maybe. Okay.
I wanted it to be a spicy romance that unfolded under really intense, big, grand background settings. Because I've always liked that kind of stories.
Yeah.
Like Gladiator and Final Fantasy XII and stuff like that, where like a lot of stuff is going on in the big picture, but the story is the interrelational thing between the characters on the ground.
And I think like one thing that you have really managed to put into your book is, how do I put this, like, you've been able to put in a main character that is at the same time very relatable, but also deeply frustrating. Like in the best way possible, because like at the same time where you're like, I'm rooting for you, you will be yelling at your book, come on, why? Because he does not always make the best decisions, do you think?
I think he's in a lot of positions where he just can't do much else. I don't think he's not in a position where he's able to make a better choice. And I think that's what makes it a really good story. Because I hate books like that when it's like, why don't you just do something else?
You can obviously just talk to him.
Yeah, exactly. I hate stuff like that. I can't deal with the non-communicative romance tropes. So there's nothing about that. But it is like a really complicated love story. going on in a really complicated political intrigue plot. So it will be pretty interesting to see what kind of people this kind of story appeals to.
How can people get to know more about your book?
I have the blurb, the little snippet of what the book's about on my website. The link is in the description, so you can go read about it there. And if you want to know more, like if you want to follow along on the publishing process and when it comes out and all this stuff, and be the first to get a peek behind the scenes and the cover reveal and everything, you can subscribe to the newsletter via my website. Not only is that great if you want to follow along, but also to show your interest and support for me. It means a lot that people subscribe to the newsletter, because then I can kind of get a sense of who is actually interested and not just waiting around. I appreciate that a lot to all of those of you who have already subscribed.
It's like you didn't just write this book for yourself, right? You wrote it
I
for
wrote
people.
it to, yeah, exactly, for people to read it and have fun with these characters. It is a very funny book also,
Yeah,
I want to say.
so, yeah.
It's really intense, but it's also kind of lighthearted. I think. But I don't know. If you follow me on Instagram, I talk a lot about the book and the writing and the process, all of which is really interesting and fun, I think. So you can come follow along there if you want to. I think that we should do a kind of author Q&A at some point. So if anyone has questions to anything about the book or the process of the writing, or
Yeah, like how do you write a book, or where do you start, or why is it important to you that X, Y, Z, or something like that?
yeah, whatever. You can write a question in the comments, and I will stack that in my little question folder to do that at some point.
I have many questions.
You do?
I do.
I love talking about writing. I love talking about my book. This is the love of my life, except for Jack April.
I'm a great second, close one.
You're the first, but I am so happy to be writing. I've never done anything in my life that I'm so excited about, and I can't wait. I can't wait to release this book and to share it with everyone. And I wish I could sit here with it in my hand and show you the cover, because it's going to be gorgeous.
We hope.
Yeah, and the reason why we talk about this now is also that this week I finished the book, because I finished the last draft of it a long time ago, and then over the summer I've had it with a professional editor who has copy edited all the small things, do all the final little edits, and that's what I've been working on all of November. But that is now done, so now we move on to all the next steps. Which I'm not gonna bore you with.
No.
But you can get bored with that on my Instagram. Yeah, so I still can't believe it's actually done.
No, it's
I'm
pretty
so
amazing.
excited.
I am so proud of you.
Thank you.
And I am so excited about what's gonna happen now and the final few months until we are sitting with a copy in our hands, our grubby little hands.
Yeah.
I can't wait to share this story and this journey with you, and I haven't even written it. So there. And I think maybe that's it for this time.
We want to do more videos. I want to do more videos than this. So that if there's anything in particular that you have questions about or want us to do videos about the book things, please comment below.
Yeah.
I would love that.
I guess that's it.
We hope you liked this video. And if you did, you can subscribe for more.
It's true. We try to post every Sunday, but life gets in the way from time to time. And if that's the case, you can find us on our other socials. Links are in the description. Hit the bell icon if you want to be sure to get notifications. And guys, I hope to see you next time.
Bye!
Bye.